Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Boss Babes Lifestyle Sports Podcast. We have yet another brand new episode, and I could not be more thrilled because today we have two-time Super Bowl champion with us, Jarvis Green. He is now an entrepreneur. He is in the shrimping business, and I cannot wait to talk to him about everything post football. And of course, you guys are going to get to know him before football. He actually grew up in Louisiana, and I'm excited to talk about that because you guys know I went to Louisiana last winter for a wedding right around Mardi Gras, and I absolutely loved it. But before we get into that, you guys know that I am obsessed with Manscaped, and I just wanted to let you all know that they recently just dropped a 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner and a brand new body wash that smells fabulous. We're going to hop right into it. Jarvis, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Hey, good. How you doing, Brittany?
Amazing. I love your outfit. It's pretty festive.
Yeah. What today is? It's Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
Tuesday.
it's Wednesday.
Hump day. Hump day. That's right. Yeah.
It's almost the weekend, and you are correct. It is hump day. So you have the festivity outfit getting ready for the weekend. I wanted to break the ice a little bit before we even get to know you before football, during football, and what you're up to now. If you had a superpower, Jarvis, what would it be and why?
If I had a superpower, it would be kindness. Yeah. I always been a good soul. Touching people, and I'm not bragging about myself, but just I can meet strangers and be friends to the strangers and make people feel comfortable because of the way I approach them. Never aggressive, always kind, always level-headed, soft-spoken. That's been me. I mean, my entire life, through the business, even playing the game of football, even with my kids at times.
That's an excellent answer. I love that. So your superpower would be to be kind, which we definitely need a lot more kindness in
We
the
need
world,
like, yes, we
especially
do.
nowadays.
Yes, we do.
If you had a top memory from the year of 2001, because here we are, I can't believe it's already November, almost Thanksgiving. What would be your top memory from this most recent year?
It may sound crazy, but I'm gonna say, I know for me, from this year, hmm, I mean, if it was last year, I could say it's something pretty good. But I think this year for me is really getting back into the seafood business because I know COVID has shut me down for like 2 years with just selling seafood. And the biggest thing is not giving up, but also just being excited and being very happy now that I can go back and do what I've been doing, I guess, since 2012 is selling seafood. So that's probably the biggest thing. I mean, I got so many things I could talk about, but that's one of the things that's going to, I guess, help round me out in the things that I'm doing for myself as well as for my family.
Well, congratulations. I cannot wait for people to learn all about your entrepreneurship and you actually getting into the shrimping business.
Awesome.
And I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that you grew up in Louisiana. Let's talk about growing up in Louisiana. What town are you from? And let's just discuss your early years. What was it like being a child growing up in your town?
Well, I grew up in a town called Donaldsonville, Louisiana, back in 1830. 1831, it was the state capital of Louisiana before Baton Rouge. Small town off the river. We have a big bridge called the Sunshine Bridge. Right now, I mean, growing up, the memories was awesome. I mean, I have a twin brother named Jason. My mom had two set of twins, so I have four siblings total. One sister, three brothers. We grew up with dogs, cats, chickens, pigeons. My dad, we did so many different things. We had a nice little 1 acre of land. We got out, did our chores, and we played sports. I mean, for me, I started playing sports in the seventh grade. But my little town, it taught me a lot of different things. But what's crazy is that I got into shrimping like recent. So we weren't like a seafood shrimping family at all. It wasn't something that I said I was going to grow up one day and sell, seafood. It's just something that happened, I guess, some coincidence with a friend of mine. But Donaldsonville, I mean, it's a great place to be, great town. I had a lot of memories, and it taught me how to grow up in this world and to survive. The biggest thing.
So hold on, wait a minute. I love the fact that your mom had two sets of
Two.
twins.
Yes.
So you have a twin brother. Let's talk about that. Did he also play sports? Who was the more competitive one? Let's discuss your sisters.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, my brother Jason, he's my twin. We was very competitive growing up. My mama said we was fighting out of the womb, and we always anything we played, basketball, football, baseball, we always compete against each other. And I know what's crazy is that you would think, I'm gonna tell you how bad it was. You would think you go into a town or somewhere and you go play against other people you don't know, right? And you know how you have to pick different people on your team. So my brother, I was never the guy he picked. He never wanted to pick me. He said I wasn't good enough. So we always was competitive. We always fought. We love each other to death. I mean, he ended up playing football with me at LSU, but we started playing football together in the seventh grade, then to high school, and then to college. But he was a little smaller than I was, about 20 pounds lighter and about 2 inches shorter.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I honestly had no idea that you had a twin brother and the fact that he played college football with you. When we start talking about college football, I cannot wait to learn more about how it was competing with your brother because I guess you're kind of like competing against him in a way if you're playing college football because at that point you're
He,
both trying
he
to win a pro spot.
same position, but he played linebacker. I played defensive end. But I know, like in high school, I mean, I was an All American. You know, back in the day, they didn't have all of these. You know how they go crazy with these 3, 4, 5-star recruits and all of that. And so, I mean, I was a 5-star recruit when I came out of Louisiana, the number one, number two player, All American, all of that. But I played defensive end. But my brother played outside linebacker behind me. So a lot of times he didn't get a lot of action because I was the one, eating up all the plays and getting the tackles and getting all the sacks.
Wow. So I wonder if him being so competitive, if that bothered him a little bit, or if he was like, you know what? I'm so happy for Jarvis. Woo! I think that's
Nah,
awesome.
my brother always had a chip on his shoulder. I think that
Oh,
was
he always
the
had a
thing.
chip on his shoulder?
Yeah, he was always like, I guess, looking up to me. But I know in basketball, I mean, he was the guy. He was very competitive in basketball. I mean, he was a better player than I was. But I mean, I cheered him on. I cheered him on, and Um, you know, I guess everybody's is different and however they slice their cake up. But even like track, I mean, we did well in track and we won a state championship in track. But we have always been competitive. And I mean, I'm 42 now. I mean, we are still competitive to this day on a lot of different things and topics.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. How was the bond with your twin sisters? Were you guys close to them? Were they also athletic? Did
Well,
they like to cook for you guys when you guys were younger? What was that dynamic like?
well, you said twin sister, but no, it's so my sister. I have a sister and a brother. They're twins. They're fraternal. They're 8 years older than I am.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my sister though, she was the one that always used to punish us when my mom wasn't around. Always had us doing our chores and everything. So my sister worked us all the time. And I know when we got older, I know my twin brother, he kind of like got on her. He was a little bigger than she was, so he kind of roughed up a little bit. So kids, right? Siblings having a good time. But we was the youngest set. We was the youngest set. So and then I had another brother. He's 52 now, so he was 10 years older than my brother and I were. But for all of us, we did go on to play college football. We all earned scholarships and we played college ball. So that was something special in our home as well.
Well, all the power to your mom being able to raise so many children. And obviously, you guys all sound like you came out to be fantastic
Yes,
individuals.
rats.
You said you guys were just little rugrats?
Yeah, that was it. Tearing the house apart, just tornadoes every day. My mama took care of us though. She was tough on us. It's a lot different now today than the way it is now. Raising kids. But I mean, back in the day, parents raised kids today. I know when I was young. I mean, we got chastised and punished all the time. And we had to do our chores, and it wasn't about not doing it. If it doesn't get done, I mean, you don't get fed. You don't get this, you don't get that. So I mean, growing up and cutting grass, and we had a garden, and we had pigeons, and we had to feed all the animals every morning and clean up after them. So my mom, I mean, she did a lot. I mean, just raising the 5 kids, and then my dad was there. But my dad, I know back in 1979, my dad broke his back on the job, And he was a war vet. Went to Vietnam. He didn't fight, but he was in Germany. So my mom did a lot for us. Growing up and teaching us how to be the best that we could be, and also education was a big deal in our house. So I mean, we did play sports, but we was never like. I never thought I'd play NFL football. I'm gonna just say that. I never thought I'd go to college to play football, but it was more about my mom saying, "Hey, you get a degree, and you can do whatever you want in life." So she always had us with the goals and aspirations that to be someone one day.
I think that is amazing that you had or you still have a close knit bond with your mom and it sounds like your siblings. I want to talk a little bit about the holidays. Growing up with your parents, with all those siblings, do you remember any specific memories around the holidays that you can share with us? And then, of course, we need to talk about some of this Louisiana cuisine. Was there anything special either you guys made for your parents or that your mom might have made for you all, especially around the holidays?
I mean, the holidays was special because, like I was telling you, my older brothers and sisters was in college. So when it became a time that was just me and my brother in the home, it wasn't as loud. It got a little quiet. And we couldn't wait for Thanksgiving. We couldn't wait for Christmas because we know our brothers were coming from college. And every time they come in, we'll be knocked out sleeping or something. And I can remember one time for Christmas, uh, we had bunk beds. Myself and my brother Jason, and my older brother came in, and we was knocked out. And I remember I woke up and he put toothpaste all over my lips, Dr. Tishner's toothpaste, and he had a feather, and he was doing that with the feather. And we kept, but I mean, it was a big thing full of toothpaste, and I remember doing that, and that's what I still remember to this day during Christmas. And from that point on, we had to keep a lookout on what was going to happen next because they was always up to different tricks. They always had tricks up their sleeve on just surprising us, and we missed them and loved them. So that was always a great time for the holidays.
Oh my gosh, I love that story. So it sounds like you guys were a little bit of jokesters and tricksters on one
Yeah,
another.
sure. It was good times, family. I mean, that's so a great time. But I know, like for the holidays, like the when it comes down to the cooking and the food, that was always special because we always had people come over. We always had family from up north because one of my uncles lived in Boston for almost 50 years, so he's just always come down for the holidays. And when you say food, I mean you're talking about all the turkey, the ham, the chicken. You got your different vegetables, you got your different casseroles, but they had that southern flair in them. So it was a lot different with the spices and the potato salad, and you got the red beans, and you got the jambalaya, you got the gumbo, you got all the different apple pies and potato pies, and icebox lemon pies. It was just the best time of the year, and everybody's around, and you just eating. You eat until you can't move anymore. That's the holidays.
Oh my gosh, Jarvis, you are literally making me hungry right now because I didn't have breakfast or lunch. So I'm over here like drooling.
I mean, a half egg sandwich right now. My mama made me an egg sandwich because this morning I got up. I had to turn some sales sheets into some customers, and then I got on my Peloton. I did that for like 60 minutes, and I'm starving. I can't wait to finish this sandwich.
So amazing. I loved learning all about your childhood. We are going to be talking a little bit about football. So please stay with us, guys. You guys are now listening to two-time Super Bowl champion and entrepreneur Jarvis Green. He actually got drafted by the New England Patriots in the 2000s. So we are so freaking thrilled to have him on with us today. Again, Jarvis, thank you so much. I
Right.
love your personality. I love that you are sharing so much insider detail on your childhood. I wanted to ask you, who did you idolize as a kid? As far as did you watch any sports when you were younger? And did you have any athletes in particular that you looked up to? Or was it simply just your brothers that you like to compete against, like you were chatting about? Or maybe your dad was your biggest idol?
Me, my brothers was my biggest heroes. My brother Aaron and my brother Shannon. We looked up to them. I mean, they was always on us. So even like if when they was in college and they used to come back and the coach used to tell them some stuff that if we did something wrong or we weren't practicing hard enough or playing hard enough, they'd come around, slap us up a little bit or come to the games, and talk smack on the sideline, and you come on the sideline and they grabbing us. I mean, they was there, for us. And I remember that now that took us a long way, and growing up, it was a little different because in the South, we had the New Orleans Saints, but it was kind of the opposite, like the way the Patriots were back in the day when they had all the blackouts. So you never could watch the Saints game on TV. So the only game that really came on TV was the Dallas Cowboys and for some reason the New York Giants. So they always played. So really, if I had a great offense, I mean, it was like, O.J. Anderson. It was watching Emmitt Smith. That was the best guys I've seen because that's the games we really saw. And also, I mean, you go to linebackers and defense. I mean, it was Charles Haley, it was Lawrence Taylor, it was Pepper Johnson, one of my ex D line coach. I watched him growing up. It was Carl Banks. So Phil Sims. I mean, O.J. Anderson. David Meggett. So a lot of those guys that I watched was the Cowboys and the Giants. And I love the Giants. I mean, it was just amazing to watch them. And football was a big thing growing up. But also, in the neighborhood, you play tackle football. I mean, I don't see any kids playing tackle football today. I'm talking about not organized, just unorganized tackle football in your neighborhood. That's something that you don't see these days with kids because they're all playing the games on the video.
I love that you brought that up, that nowadays you see people playing more video games and less out in the streets. And I feel like that's such an important topic to discuss because I myself, I mean, I'm only in my 30s. I grew up mostly playing outdoor,
All the
playing
time.
softball and being with my friends and family. But
Yeah.
nowadays, you're right, the newer generations don't do that as much.
No, they don't. They don't. I mean, just like let's take for instance, the kids get off the bus, they get home, and then they're looking around like, hey, we're gonna go play some football today. They go knock on your door and they walk inside and they go up to the room. They cut the console on. That's how they play football. Back in the day, we're gonna play football. Knock on the door. I got the football. What lot we gonna go in today? Or like when we used to go to the city, we never played football really on the dirt. In the city, we played football on the streets. So the out of bounds was the red car or the blue car or the or the corner or the stop sign was the touchdown. And so it was so different growing up, and it wasn't easy. I mean, it was rough. You get done, you're bloody, you hurt, you get in a couple of fist fights with guys every time you played a sport. That was the way life was, but it wasn't about people picking up a gun to shoot you. It was more about fair competition, and everybody bought their best. But we stayed physically fit all the time because we was running, we was sweating. That was life, right? I mean, now it's not life today with all the technology.
I also loved the fact that you pointed out when you were younger, you weren't really dreaming about becoming an NFL player or even playing college football. So I guess it kind of leads into my next point of you're discussing being a young kid, being active and playing football with your friends. So at what age did you realize like, hey, I actually am not only do I enjoy playing football for fun with my friends, but you started playing in high school and you performed very well in high school. At one point, you were 3A defensive MVP in high school, among many other accolades. So, when did it switch into I'm just playing football for fun out in the backyard or out in the streets with my friends to wow, I actually can maybe turn this into a career?
I gotta say, in the ninth grade, I started getting letters from colleges, and I think if you're an average player in different sports, you start getting these letters, right? College is looking for students. College is looking for student athletes. And I started making a couple of plays, and people started noticing. And then I started getting like more letters from ninth to 10th grade. And I'm like, wait, so somebody want me to go to college? And I knew about my brothers and all, but one went to Northeast Louisiana. Uh, one of them, and that's University of Louisiana Monroe right now, and one of them went to Tuskegee in Alabama, uh, HCBU, HBCU, sorry, Historical Black College University, Tuskegee. And I'm like, okay, good, that's cool, but you didn't know the details, right? When I was young, I was a little kid, I didn't know the details. And then I'm like, these letters coming in. I said, so somebody want me to go play football, and they're going to give me a scholarship. And I'm like, what's a scholarship? I'm in the ninth grade, and I'm like, wow, okay. I said, I need to take this a little more serious. And I did. So I know my brothers did, so I was a guy that I picked up the weights. Now, of course, we was working out, with the high school, doing everything that we possibly could do. But then I was going home and lifting weights. I was running. I was just doing little things to say, let me get my endurance. So, but you know what's crazy too, Britt, is that I was jogging a lot, like from the ninth to the 10th grade. But the only reason why I started jogging was because I remember my brother, my twin brother, and I used to always fight. And I remember the last fight, uh, we almost kicked the door in. We bust a fish tank. We bust a window. We broke a bunch of things in the house. My mom told me, since you're the oldest, I'm the oldest twin by 1 minute. My mom had a C-section, right? And she said, since you're the oldest, you need to leave the house. I'm in the ninth grade. It's a summer. It's my ninth grade year. Summer going to be in the 10th grade. So I started walking out the house, and I walked, and we fought all the time. Like it wasn't like once a blue moon. We fought like almost every other day, just fussing, bickering. We were getting too big. My mom said she can handle us. So I started walking outside, and I'm like, you know what? Since I'm walking, let me start jogging. So I just started jogging. Now we don't have the Fitbit, we don't have all the technology. So I went got in the car, my dad's car, got a spray can, and every mile marker I marked the X in my neighborhood until I went because we had a big old street, but it was like a circle, like a track, but it was a long street all the way around the neighborhood. So I did that. I had marked like 3 or 4 X's, and I put the car up, and then I went and started jogging. So the walking to the jogging became 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 miles. It got to the point I was jogging 5 to 6 miles a day, but I was doing it every other day because I said, you know what, just let me do this. And then when I started doing sports and other things, I started like, wow, this shit really works. And I had no idea I'm building my endurance up, but I left the house because my mom was like, you got to go because we was destroying the house. And that's kind of how it took me to another level from everybody that I was playing sports with and my teammates from my endurance. Not knowing, not having it. That was the end goal wasn't say go to college. The end goal was I was trying to like take away all the stress and all the anger. I was pissed off. So that's what happened.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story because it's so in detail of your mom being in a household with a number of kids. She was probably stressed out, just wanted you to get out of the house for a little bit. I mean, she's not the only one. I grew up with a brother and sister. So, Jarvis, when I tell you, my mom used to kick me out of the house too because I was actually the oldest.
Yeah.
I So she'd be like, Britt, go take the kids. You're going to go for a walk. You're babysitting. So, like, Jarvis, I understand. But I love the fact that you turned it into a positive and you didn't go out. You didn't start doing drugs. You didn't cause ruckus in the neighborhood. In fact, you did something really beneficial to your life, working on your endurance. So, for those of you guys that are listening, my Boss Babes fanatics, if you are ever under stress and if you ever need something to do to take your mind off of a stressful situation, take Jarvis's advice. Go do something physically active, whether it be going for a hike, working out like he did. Take a little mental breather. You don't have to go out and do something destructive. You guys are now listening to Jarvis Green. He is a two-time Super Bowl champion and entrepreneur. He actually got drafted by the New England Patriots. We are learning all of the details about his childhood. And I find it super fascinating that he actually had no idea that he was ever going to be in the NFL. He didn't even really think that much about potentially being in the NFL. It kind of just like happened. It was fate. Here we are now. He's an entrepreneur. Stay with us. We are going to be talking about all of the things. But Jarvis, are you ready to talk about some college football or what?
Yeah. Let's try some. Let's talk college football. Let's go. Let's not talk about LSU though. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah, they're doing terrible. Ugh.
Oh my gosh, I love that you brought that up. So, speaking of LSU, Jarvis actually played at LSU. He attended LSU, and at one point, he was ranked fourth on the school's all time sack list with 20 sacks for 123 yards in 1998. an LSU freshman record with 8 sacks for 46 yards and starting 10 games at defensive end. So, Jarvis, how was it going to Louisiana State University? I think it's awesome and badass that you were able to play right in your home state.
Yeah,
First
it
of
was.
all,
I'll tell you something that was funny about my 5 years at LSU. I red shirt. We had Gary Donato. That was the first year we beat Florida. I don't know when was the last time we beat Florida, but it was Steve Spurrier. The Florida Gators #1. Kevin Falk was the running back, and I think we shut them out, maybe 21-0. But it was like the Bandits. The Chinese Bandits. There's a lot of LSU history in that. They had, two different defensive fronts that go in there, two defensive teams that go in there, and they play the different offensive schemes. But LSU was great. I mean, my first 2 years at LSU was like phenomenal. I had like 15 sacks, 31 TFLs, 100 tackles. I was up there in the top 20 in defensive ends, top 25 after my freshman year, freshman All American. And at that point, I was going to leave Declare early because I remember going to my junior year. It was not crazy the way it is. Well, back in the day, it's not as crazy as the way it is now when it comes to the draft, Mel Kiper. Everything was on paper, it wasn't all digital. You didn't get to see, the internet, social media. It was a different world we lived in. But I remember going to my junior year. I was Mel Kiper's number 20th pick, first round. Nick Saban came in, new coach. They fired Gary Donato. We changed our defense completely. We went from getting off the ball to a two-gap defense. And I can remember my junior year, I had a serious high ankle sprain. I was never the same guy that I was my first 2 years. And I ended up playing the rest of my term there. I graduated as well, and then I went to the Patriots. But my college days was up and down. I mean, I had a lot more fun, playing in the professional football league. In colleges was different for me. A lot was going on. I had a bad back situation. I got in a car accident my freshman year. Had a bad back injury. Missed a lot of time with training camp. It was just a tough time for me as well, mentally and physically. But I got to say, I'm blessed that I got through everything and made it. We won the Sugar Bowl my last year, and then also just getting drafted in the fourth round after all the things that I've been through, the ups and downs, to get to the end.
what were some of your top memories playing college football? And it doesn't even have to necessarily be like a top game moment. I mean, it could be simply you hanging out or meeting new friends on the team or like something you guys did out at the bar after celebrating a big
Well,
win. Give
well,
us give us the juicy details, Jarvis. It
I mean,
doesn't have to be game related.
when I played, we had a bunch of guys like Ryan Clark, Rohan Davey, Robert Raw, Brady James, a few guys just that played in the league. Howard Green, my cousin, and I think the biggest thing was that I remember one year we went to Florida and we was beating Florida. It was Gary Donato then, and we was beating Florida. It was serious. I think we had up either 21-0, and then they came back and I think they beat us maybe 48-21. So, but I remember that game. Jesse Palmer, he's a guy that we still on TV now. Uh, I guess he's on ESPN or something. So he was a quarterback at the time. But just to see him, and then I remember we played so well that game, and I think I maybe had two sacks or something. But it was a hell of a game for me playing against Florida because Florida was a top team at the time. But we still only won 3 or 4 games that year. So a lot of things happen in college. A lot of good and bad. Meeting a lot of people, new friends, and just experiences.
Well, thank you so much for sharing so much about your time at LSU. We will switch on over and talk a little bit about going pro.